How's it going? Today I'm here with Alex. He's been doing bourbon for
Right around 2 years on my bourbon
2 years.
journey.
2 years? I thought it was more like 1.5, but hey, who's counting? So I'm going to ask him some questions. Going to get his opinions, his ideas, and what his thoughts are. He's got a bunch of stuff. I don't know, 200 some, 250. I don't know how many bottles he's got, but that's what we're going to do today. So, what got you into bourbon?
I don't know. I've kind of always liked whiskey. Many years ago, even, but something about finally learning how to taste it instead of drink it. And once you learn to taste it, you get all the quality flavors: the actual caramel, the vanilla, the barrel char. Sometimes a little bit of leather, tobacco. Once you can feel those flavors, it changes what the alcohol means. Instead of drinking it to get drunk, you're drinking it to drink it.
Okay. And yeah, I seen one today that was char level 5 for the char of the barrel. So yeah, I mean, I guess that would make a difference in the flavor too, as opposed to just
give you a marshmallow feel at the end. High char.
Okay. So, what type do you like the most? Like rye, wheat?
I prefer a rye whiskey on high rye bourbons. Nothing wrong with a bourbon itself. I like bourbons as an everyday type of thing, but if I had to choose, it would usually be a rye.
Okay. What about like a double oaked? Is that something similar to like the rye or the wheat?
No. So a double oaked would be, ran once in the barrel and then again. So it picks up a lot of the oak tannins and the oak feel from inside the barrel. Some people really enjoy that because you can get a campfire, marshmallow, s'more type flavor on the palate. I personally don't love a lot of the double oaks, but the oak isn't one of the flavor profiles I generally care for.
Okay. So the next question is, what is your favorite current pour? Like the one you're going to go to because you're like, you know what, that's pretty good. I'm going to have it again today.
If I had to pick a current pour that's my everyday type of pour, it would usually go between the Early Times Bottled and Bond and the Weller Antique 107 currently, are the two that I would gravitate to on a daily basis.
Okay. Do you want to have one of them, or we could do something, your backup, the one that you go to when you can't decide which one you really want, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to go to this one because it's tried and true in your flavors.
If I'm going for a tried and true that I don't care the result, I'm usually going to turn to a wild turkey, a 101 or a rare breed.
Okay. You want to have some of that, or we can?
Sure. Which would you prefer, a wild turkey or a rare breed? The 101 or?
Let's do the rare breed.
The rare breed?
Yeah, sure. That sounds like a plan. So while he goes and gets that, he's been doing this, like I said earlier, for 2 years, and he seems to enjoy it because he keeps doing it. Uh-oh. Just like me.
Always going to spill it.
Now, some may not know this, but I've just started my journey on the bourbon, and I've never had this one personally, so...
Cheers.
Okay. Okay. It's very sweet. I smell that already.
Sweet. Cherry forward a little bit.
Yeah, I do smell fruit. I just don't know what fruit it is. Yeah, I do taste the cherry.
A little bit of dark cherry, and you get that cinnamon flavor, that Kentucky hug it goes down.
Now, what's the proof on this?
This particular rare breed, if I could read, is 116.8.
Okay. So it's got a little spice, as some would say.
A little bit of the cinnamon on the back end.
Yeah. So, going to go to the next one because, well, that's the point of doing this video today, is to ask questions, right? What was your first expensive bottle, and do you remember the price?
Oh, well, early in your journey, expensive to start is way different than expensive once you actually get into the journey itself. So my first expensive bottle that I believe was expensive back then would have been the Blanton straight from the barrel, and then I paid $149.99.
That's more expensive than my first expensive bottle. Do you have a unicorn, one that you would love to see in the wild and be able to just pick up because there it is, you've never seen it, and that's the one you've been looking for for however long?
In a control state, BTAC's hard to get a hold of. I do have a Kentucky Owl, which is pretty hard to get your hands on. Pretty good, expensive, hard to find bottle. Some people consider store pick versions of Four Roses single barrel can be unicorns, even though their price value is not too high.
I've seen a
Personally,
couple of those recently.
I'd love to get my hands on, a George T. Stagg, a William LaRue Weller, or even just a Jack Daniel's Coy Hill. But in control state, those are hard to come by.
I haven't even seen a Coy Hill. I've seen it on videos and on pictures, but not one in person. So yeah, I suppose it's probably pretty hard to get a hold of. What do you think currently is your prize bottle? Maybe even your most expensive bottle? Or which one's which? Which one's your most expensive? Which one's your most prized? Your prized possession bottle?
Well, most expensive value-wise is the Kentucky Owl. They're just hard to come by here, quite expensive, off the shelf, even in a control state. They're $200 plus. And my prize bottle, believe it or not, it's a shelfer everywhere, if you can find it, is the Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Rye. They're off the shelf, and they're treated like unicorns around here and hard to get a hold of, but I wouldn't trade a bottle for anything, and they're hard to find.
Okay. So, with that, any reason that you could think of to buy a bottle, rather it be one of your favorites or an expensive bottle, and hold on to it, rather as something for a special occasion, or say hoping you hit the lottery and you bought it for $20 and you sell it for $4,000. Is there any real reason to do that, or should you just open them and enjoy them because that's what it's designed for, is to be drank and enjoyed?
I don't buy them to collect them. I buy them to drink them. If I'm going to buy it, I'm going to share it with my friends, the buddies that come down to the Easy, and I'm going to drink them myself too. There's no point in chasing something, whether it be bourbon, rum, vodka, gin, or even beer, to just sit on it. Can't take it with you. Might as well enjoy it while you're here.
Now, would you get something for, say, that you would get, say, today and hold on to for a special occasion?
I have a couple bottles that are special occasion based. I have a Elijah Craig 18 year that, got some special occasion reasons to have it. And when that occasion happens, I'm sure that bottle will be empty before the night is done.
I mean, it's a special occasion. Why not, right?
Right.
So, in your opinion, if someone asked you what a good bourbon was and they had a limited amount of money, what would it be and why?
So, if you got $25, $26, whether you're in a control state or not, and you want to try a good bourbon, it's just a good, well-rounded bourbon, Wild Turkey 101, you can't go wrong. A lot of people like the Evan Williams Bottled in Bond, which I personally do myself as well.
Yeah, I've had that one. That one's pretty good.
Elijah Craig 94 is a good starter for anyone. And if you're into the ryes, you could go with a Rittenhouse to kind of start you there as an easy rye to mix with that is pretty sweet on the palate and doesn't have all the rye bread baking spice in your face notes right off the rip.
Okay. So for somebody that's starting out, like when you first started out, what do you think are the bottles that somebody would need for such occasions, like somebody's coming over, long week at work, every day? Should that be something that you just don't have one bottle, you have multiple bottles? Do you think that? And I mean, should that be something that people think about when they are starting out their journey?
I think when people start their journey out, they should be more focused on tasting different distilleries. Heaven Hill, Brown-Forman, switch between Jim and Jack, and see what's good for you. There's no point in buying a bottle if you don't know. So I would say go out and buy a bottle of Old Grandad 114 or Bonded. Get a bottle of Evan Williams, test out a bottle of Benchmark to get into the Buffalo Trace line. And don't buy duplicates till you find one you like. Kind of keep trying to test the water.
Is there any reason to buy that bottle that's on the very bottom shelf that's only $7 because it's cheap?
No.
Okay.
To be honest, a lot of those use neutral grain spirits, and you're not going to get the flavors of an actual bourbon or even American whiskey or single malt, which are also excellent. But you're going to get that alcohol rub, dirty shoe taste, and if you get the teeth sweats, you should probably not drink it. But that turns a lot of people off from a good bourbon because they have bad experiences with a really bad whiskey.
Okay. Well, I have one more question. And what is your personal recipe for an old-fashioned? Now, of course, you don't have to do the expensive stuff, but the rye, wheat, what, in your opinion, is your favorite version of an old-fashioned?
My favorite version of an old-fashioned would have to be 100 proof rye, generally a sweeter rye, a mix of Angostura and regular Angostura aromatic bitters and the orange bitters, a mix between the two. A little bit of orange zest, and of course, Demerara syrup, and one giant Luxardo cherry with all the cherry juice in it you can. But I don't see anything going wrong. Just make sure you don't use a super low proof bourbon and whiskey, or that big ice cube in the center is going to make it turn into water instead of the flavors you really want.
So would you say the higher the better?
Not necessarily.
On the proof?
Not necessarily. Some whiskeys or bourbons just don't go well with ice. Some don't mix as well as others. So it's a test and tried method for most people, but for me, it would be a rye at 100 proof.
Okay, so with that, the high-end proof, do you prefer to go neat right away and then add an ice, add a little bit of water? Or would you just say, you know what, let me get it iced. Let me get it on the rocks.
Personally, I always try every whiskey, bourbon, whether it be Canadian even, I always try them neat to try to find the flavor profile, because after you've tasted a bunch of them and you get into the hundreds of bottles tasted and you learn what profiles you like, you can tell that bourbon just isn't going to mix with that soda. And you can tell if that bourbon's just not going to mix in that whiskey sour you want, So I always taste them neat to get that profile first to see if it's even worth the attempt. And usually I'll give them a run at something, but sometimes you can't.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So thank you. It was a pleasure. And I hope to try your whatever you want to make me later. I don't know. I was going to ask a question about it, but you know what? We'll just roll with it and see what it is. This was very delicious. I hope to try something else later. We'll see. And we're going to end with, if you like the video, like it. Share it if you would. Subscribe to my channel. So this is something I think I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try to reach out to people that have collections or have a journey of their own and do the same questions. Comment on some of the questions that you think I should have asked. That'd be great. And if you have any ideas on that, like I said, comment, and we will write them down. I'll ask other people. Maybe we can do another sit down and talk like this with other questions that I haven't asked him today. Like my videos, share, subscribe, and whatever you do, do it with a smile.